Oh my God, Chris, if you don't like it, just leave the country already, right? Hi, I'm Nathan and welcome to Ninja Monkey, the place for all things related to Japan. I make content as a tourist, for tourists just like yourself. So if you are going to be traveling to Japan anytime soon, you've definitely come to the right channel. And today I'm going to be reacting to Chris Broad's 12 things I hate about Japan. And as a tourist, I thought it would be interesting to see what he has to say and whether or not you should be avoiding and following his tips. So let's jump right into it.
I miss the Angry Rats. Does he love everything about Japan now? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, first up, I have to say that I love Chris's channel. I think he's a genius. He knows how to hook his audience from the very start of his video. His British sense of humor and his sarcasm are absolutely spot on. One of the reasons why I just return to watch all of his videos and probably why you're watching this. But I'm probably going to be missing and skipping through his 12 things I hate about Japan and get into the nitty-gritty. So let's get started. Okay, number one, Hostess Club.
So for my first 3 years living in Japan, I lived in a pretty rural place. And out in the Japanese countryside, there's basically 3 things you can do. Number 1 is play Pachinko, Japan's most popular game, and one so horrific, it'll absolutely be appearing on this list later on.
Okay.
Number 2 was go to a Hostess Club or snack bar. And number 3 was look at a rice field.
Look at a rice field.
My preference was to always do number 3. But unfortunately, every week, a work colleague or a friend would drag me kicking and screaming to a Hostess Club, where over the course of...
First up, I have never been to a Hostess Club. I've been warned about Hostess Clubs as a tourist. I'm just worried that I'm gonna go into a Hostess Club and come out with no money. And that's pretty much the reason why I wouldn't go to a Hostess Club. And probably why I would recommend that as a tourist, you keep away from Hostess Clubs. But let's see what Chris has to say anyway.
Over the course of a single evening, I would eradicate my entire paycheck.
There you go.
Now, if you don't know what a Hostess Club, or Purikura, as it's known in Japanese, is, it's basically a bar where you come in, sit down, sit amongst some girls who pour your drinks, light your cigarettes, flirt with you, and massage your fragile ego. Come on, who doesn't want girls flirting with you? I get the concept. Just not gonna be spending my money on that. The moment you walk in and sit down, the girl always asks if they can drink too, if they can join you. And naturally, you have to say yes. So you end up paying for their drink and yours at the same time. And from that point on, their only role is to keep you there as long as possible.
Yeah, this is what I've heard from people that have actually been to Hostess Clubs, where they've actually gone in and they've literally come out with no money, and it's just crazy.
And even when you leave the venue, it still carries on. The illusion continues because they'll take your phone number and message.
What? I didn't know this. They message you? That's crazy.
Let's carry on. And this is all well and good until you realise you're paying hundreds of dollars for a date that can never ever lead anywhere.
I mean, let's face it. If you go to a Hostess Club, the girls there are going to be super cute, and I know the type of girl that would be into me, and probably those Hostess girls would not be into me. So if I start getting text messages from some super cute, really hot girl, I'm going to be starting to ask questions. Me personally, anyway.
And to keep the customers there longer, they basically force you into doing karaoke in front of everyone.
Karaoke. I love karaoke.
So point number 2 on my list of things I hate in Japan. Kanpai, yeah. Yeah, cheap whiskey as well.
What? Don't tell me he's put karaoke in the list of things that he doesn't like about Japan. What? No! What? No! Wait a minute, let's see what he has to say.
It's a curious thing. Oh, just as you think, a Hostess Club can't get any worse. They hand out the microphone to the drunk guy, and under a mixture of alcohol and peer pressure, he butchers your favourite 80s song.
If you don't like karaoke, you're not drunk enough, is what I say.
And they always pick the same fucking artist. It's always Taylor Swift, Bon Jovi, Disney songs being massacred over and over. The one person that can sing, voice of an angel, never gets anywhere near the microphone. The only thing that helps is the Nomi Hodai, all you can drink menu.
All you can drink.
But the food, isn't up to scratch, unfortunately. Avoid the food at the karaoke, please.
Okay, me personally, I like karaoke. I guess that if you live in Japan and you have access to karaoke all the time, you might start getting feelings like this, like not liking karaoke. But as a tourist, I've done karaoke maybe 3 or 4 times out of my 15 plus trips I've been to Japan, and every time I've done karaoke, it's always been fun. It's always been a blast. The all you can drink is awesome. The food isn't that great, obviously, but it is what it is, and I recommend that you at least try karaoke once if you can. Obviously, if you're a solo traveler, it's a little bit difficult, but if you're in a group with a group of friends or in a guided tour, then you can convince some people to do karaoke just to experience it. I think it's one of those tick box things that you need to do if you go to Japan and if you have the opportunity to do, basically. But I understand living in Japan and having access to karaoke all the time, maybe it's something that you'll end up hating.
And there comes a point in the evening where you wish both music and ears had never been invented. When you finally crack and you seize the microphone and take your moment. Don't take money, don't take fame.
Good singing. I'm a music teacher, by the way. Okay, so yeah, karaoke, like I said, I think it's something that as a tourist you should try. It's a lot of fun, and you can make your own mind up whether or not you like karaoke or not. But I personally do like karaoke, but I guess a lot of it has to do with who you go to karaoke with. My opinion, anyway.
Oh God, the only problem with karaoke is too much all you can drink. But you've got to do it, you've got to drink to get through it. Fortunately, Japanese toilets though are the best.
I love Japanese toilets. I want a Japanese toilet in my house, but I don't have one, but I want one.
But there is one thing about Japanese toilets that I hate.
What is
that is this.
What? What? You hate it? The bidet? How can you hate it? What?
Some people live and die by these damn.
Me?
Person. Using a bidet can only feel like an invasive surgical procedure.
No, it's like refreshing and clean, and I feel like I have a clean bum.
When I sit down on a toilet, I don't want it to be a 4D experience, right? And once you've had one unexpectedly hit you automatically at full pressure.
Okay, I get what he says. If it's a surprise like bidet sort of thing going on, I totally get what he's saying. You don't want anything surprising that area of your body. But if you're actually controlling it and you know that it's coming and then it's fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, with scalding hot water, you'll hate the damn things just as much as I do. Truthfully, the only thing I hate more than these damn things are the people that rave about them so relentlessly.
Wait, that's me! What? Moss Burger. Okay, this one, I
Here we are, the Tobikiri
hate number 4,
cheeseburger.
Moss Burger. Alright, this one I sort of understand the whole hype behind the Moss Burger is, in my opinion, it is overrated. I wouldn't say that I would hate it. I would probably many times choose a Moss Burger over a McDonald's, for example, if I had the choice. But I do think that there is a lot more, better burgers out there in Japan, and it is a little bit overrated. But if you're a tourist, yeah, why not give it a try once? At least say, I've tried Moss Burger,
A burger with a sort of sloppy, cheesy, oniony mess, rather anemic patty. The bread's
He has a way
I think the
of
problem with Moss
describing
Burger is
things,
that
doesn't
sort
he?
of overhyped nature. People always say, oh my God, Moss Burger, it's like this amazing, it's Japan's native burger brand, it's amazing. It's not. Just because Japan has its own burger brand doesn't mean it's good, right? Everyone comes to Moss Burger.
It isn't bad. It just, there's better burgers out there.
Yeah, it's the best thing to come out of a basket since Moses. And yes, look at this. Cardboard chips. Look at this sloppy, messy burger in here, right? Instead of using a cheese slice, they use like a pasty sauce.
I don't know, that looks good to me. I would eat that right now. Would you eat that?
It's not to say Japan can't do good burgers. They can. Freshness burger.
Ooh,
A far
freshness
better
burger.
chain. If I was trying to say
Agree.
something good about Moss
Agree.
Burger, today I
agree.
discovered the name, Moss, right? It means mountains, ocean and sea. And it's supposed to be about embracing life. But why couldn't they embrace a better patty that doesn't look this anemic? Look at the colour. Look at that colour.
It looks okay. I don't know, it looks better than a McDonald's, in my opinion. I don't know.
They've got a nice interior, and the staff are always nice.
Yeah, the staff are really, really, really good. The service is usually very good in a Moss Burger, in my opinion.
So tick there. I don't want to eat any of this, but I'm going to, out of respect for food.
So, Moss Burger, I guess it's one of those things where, you know, as a tourist, sometimes we see things through the lens of a tourist, and everything, you know, Japan can't fail. Everything is amazing in Japan. And it's easy to go to Japan and be impressed by everything just because you're in Japan and you're literally tasting everything through the lens of a tourist. But there are so many options in Japan that you should try. Give Moss Burger a go, just maybe don't make it a repeat sort of thing.
But no, Japan's biggest game is none of these things. It involves ball bearings
Pachinko.
going round in a circle through a machine, and it is called Pachinko.
Stupid ball game.
Despite making a video on the subject and going there
Incredible.
and watching Natsuki win us various prizes, not only do I still not really understand the game.
All right, I've done Pachinko before. Personally, for me, it's a little bit of a sensory overload sort of situation. Too much noise, too many lights, too much going on, not understanding what on earth is happening. But once again, maybe Chris has to rename this video to 12 things you must try even though I don't like them. I honestly think going to a Pachinko place and trying Pachinko out as a tourist at least once, it's certainly an experience that you will not forget, that's for sure. Now, would I put it in the list of 12 things I hate about Japan? Probably, maybe I would. Maybe I would add it to that list, especially because it's got sort of a little bit of a dark, you know, background as far as I'm aware. But try it out just for the sensory overload.
And yet, 1 in 10 people in Japan play Pachinko, and it's worth $200 billion to the Japanese economy. For many, it's not so much a recreational activity as a gambling addiction, right?
Yeah, I don't like gambling things either, so I agree. So if you do go to Pachinko, just be, you know, use your common sense, give yourself a limit, don't spend longer than 10 or 15 minutes there. Just if you are gonna go just to experience it, then, you know, that's fine. But just be aware that it is gambling, even though it isn't gambling. Just be very careful.
To the scene, you're wandering
Next
through
one.
Tokyo,
What is
wind
it?
in your hair, on your way to the Creepy Nuts concert. All of a sudden, you hear a loud noise.
Oh, don't get me started. I absolutely hate these people. Oh, this is like, yeah. I think you're gonna talk about those Mario Kart stupid tourist trap craziness.
Jack at the wheel, ruining the atmosphere, and hopefully not mounting the pavement and crashing into a fish and chip shop, as happened several years ago.
Yeah.
But no, this isn't Mario Kart. This is go-karting in Tokyo.
I'm a traveler. When I go to Japan, I like to respect the culture and the people as much as I can and look around and see what people are doing and try to act similar to them. And I just find that these Tokyo go-karts experiences that tourists go to, they are so invasive. They're so like in your face with all of these tourists that don't know how to drive properly, can be dangerous, as Chris has just mentioned, crashing into a shop at one point. It's a miracle that somebody hasn't been killed yet.
Go-karting is back, and it's no longer called Maricart for legal reasons, but there's a company called Street Kart with a very good disclaimer saying there's nothing to do with Nintendo here.
Unfortunately, it's back. I mean, I'd love to know your opinions on this one. This one is a little bit controversial. I have some of my subscribers who have said, oh, I can't wait to go to Tokyo and do the go-karting, you know. But personally, I think there's so much more to see in Tokyo, you know, rather than spend an hour just, you know, going round and round in circles.
And if you ask most people, most local Japanese people, they hate this idea of foreign tourists driving around on a go-kart, causing chaos. They're very loud, they're very annoying. I just don't think it's a good idea to let people drive around on go-karts.
I agree with you there, 100%. Tourists, spend your money elsewhere, go and find something cultural to do, or just spend your money on a fancy restaurant.
Often the only people you see riding the go-karts are foreign tourists, and actually it propagates this sort of bad image that foreign tourists equals bad.
This one, 100%. Yeah, I agree with Chris 100%.
And actually it propagates this sort of bad image that foreign tourists equals bad. And I think that is part of the reason I hate it, and many foreign residents in Japan do as well as a result. If you come to Tokyo, don't use them. Get some bicycles, go-kart in the countryside.
Or go on one of those rickshaw sort of things, you know, where they actually take you on a tour, and you'll be giving money, hopefully, to some local establishments, and learning about the culture of Tokyo, wherever you are at the same time, in my opinion. Purikura, why? I mean, I only done Purikura once. It's not something that I'm interested in as such, but hate is a very strong word for something like
Clearly
this.
Not aimed at you, a grumpy 32-year-old man.
agree.
And you'd
Why?
be right about that. But the thing is, I didn't really understand why anyone likes Purikura. The act of taking your face and making it look like an alien trying to transform into a human sort of gave up along the way and did this.
I guess it's a social thing, you know, these young people, they get together, hey, let's do some Purikura, and they have a little bit of fun. To be honest, I don't see the harm in
Purikura literally
personally.
means put into krabu. I don't get why it's popular anymore. Look at this. I had to go down to the arcade and demean myself for this stupid photo. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe burn it later.
Send it to a fan.
I've often said in videos that it feels like there's a barrier between you and Japanese people, right?
Okay, so this, obviously I don't live in Japan. I've mentioned I'm actually from Gibraltar in the very south tip of Europe, a British overseas territory. And I travel to Japan a lot as a tourist. So my point of view about Japan is through the eyes of a tourist, which is what my channel is all about. And Chris lives in Japan, so his point of view is slightly different to mine. He experiences things on the daily, and therefore he has probably some very strong opinions as a result. Whilst when you're a tourist and you go to Japan, you might experience something once or twice, and therefore it's not a big deal. So I think this section is all about like living in Japan. I'm gonna listen to what he has to say, but I might quickly skip ahead to see what the rest of the video is about.
Japanese people, right, living here. And then, after 6 months, or a year, or 3 years, or 10 years, when people are still saying the same fucking sentences in every small talk, in every conversation, it'll really piss you off.
People living in Japan or Tokyo or whatever, it's completely different to the experience of a tourist. Modern architecture.
I'll never forget the first time I arrived in Tokyo. I drove down a highway and this was the first building
I like the architecture of Tokyo. I mean, I guess modern architecture with skyscrapers, nowadays it's the same everywhere.
Tokyo's skyline is starting to all look the same. Go to Marunouchi over by Tokyo Station, all shiny new glass skyscrapers that could be copied and pasted from any other place on Earth. Then you've got behind me, in Azabujuban, all just boring generic skyscrapers, except maybe that green one over there.
I mean, I understand what he's saying with the skyscrapers. It's not something that bothers me too much. As somebody who comes from a very small overseas territory or country, one of the smallest in the world, going to any city with skyscrapers is exciting. So therefore, when I'm walking around areas in Tokyo and I see the high-rise buildings, the skyscrapers, etc., I'm just completely in awe, and I actually love the modern architecture because of where I come from.
I hate modern Japanese architecture. Now you might be thinking, well, you're just bitter, Chris.
Modern
You're
Japanese
bitter
architecture.
because they tore down your beloved Nakagin capsule.
I like it, like I said.
It's finally gone. They dismantled the capsules,
That's so
and where
sad.
once stood the iconic Nakagin capsule tower is now just a hole of nothing, soon to be filled with another generic apartment building. I think if you're going to tear down an amazing building, replace it with something good. Don't just build another boring building. And that's been the case with places like Harajuku Station. Harajuku Station has an iconic design built in the Meiji era, and it was...
I used to love the Harajuku Station. It just reminded me of, I don't know, like a random European style building in the middle of Tokyo. And now, like Chris has mentioned, it's just been replaced with something very generic. It doesn't bother me too much, personally.
And it was never fun going through Harajuku Station. It was always an absolute shit show. It was small, it was crowded, it wasn't fun. So they replaced it and built a brand new building. And yet, it's just another shiny glass, boring building that could be any station in Japan. Utilitarian, characterless, and boring.
They could have put a little bit of effort into it, but
I don't understand why they didn't think, well, why don't we borrow something from that old design? Why don't we take something and make something new? No, let's just build a brand new train station.
in Europe, there are many old buildings keep the facade and they renovate around it or they build around it, just so that they don't lose the historic value, and perhaps they could have done that here.
That is why I hate modern Japanese architecture in cities, and I think it's a real shame. Sad, isn't it?
So serious.
Yeah.
Put your hands up if you like train stations. Yes! Oh my god,
I love train stations.
Sat down. Excellent. Now put your hands up if you like bentos. Yes! Oh my god, I like food in a box.
Eki-bento.
What are we waiting for?
Why?
Eki-ben, train station bento, put it together.
I mean-
what do you get? Disappointment.
Eki-bento is what it is. It's literally a lunchbox that you buy at a train station and you eat on a train, and you're gonna have relatively some bad experiences and mostly good experiences, in my opinion. I've had a really good Eki-bento before in going through the mountains, through the Japanese Alps, where I had this meal that I would pull a string and it would heat up the meal, and the meat was quite tender and the rice was quite nice. But I've also had some, very mediocre bento boxes on trains. Still better than what I probably buy in Europe, to be honest.
What do you get? Disappointment. On a scale of 1 to overrated thing, Eki-ben are just everywhere. People rant and rave about how much they love the damn things, and I'm not going to deny it.
I wouldn't say, hey, I want to eat Eki-ben today. That is what I want to eat. It's something that I would only purchase because I'm literally going on a train journey that's going to be 4 hours long, and it's going to go through lunchtime, and I need something to eat on the train. That is the only time that I will, well, that's what it's meant for, right?
There are some good Eki-ben. I ride the bullet train once every week, twice a week, and I get an Eki-ben every time. And there are some fantastic options with sushi, tempura, tonkatsu, excitement. I love it. But for every good Eki-ben, there are 3 very bad Eki-bens. Where the rice is like
When it's bad, it's bad,
excavating
right?
a bit of gravel out of a box, where the food is cold and dry and shit. And even though Connor and I disagree on pretty much everything, the one thing we agree on is that Eki-ben are
Connor's face.
and often when you're running through a Japanese train station, it's chaotic, it's rushed, you've got to get the train, you pick up the first bento you see, and we picked up, I think, this beef Wagyu bento. It was like beef, it was very expensive,
Wagyu bento,
2,000 yen a
sounds
box. And we needed that bento, it's a 4-hour train ride.
You see what I said? When you're gonna go on a long train ride, you need one of these bentos.
And we cracked the bentos open on the train, distraught, hungry, fed up, put the chopsticks in, and they got stuck in the fucking rice because the rice was so cold and
Oh my
hard and
God,
horrible.
the
We took a
spoon.
bite of the beef and it was stringy and tough. And for that price point,
I wasn't
2,000
expecting
yen,
that.
when you're on a train for 4 hours with no other food at your disposal.
The strawberry cream sandwich, which I have experienced and I thought was quite tasty. It's not something that I crave when I go to Japan. It's not something that I pick up off the shelf when I'm in a konbini or anything like that, but I have tried it. I guess it's one of those foods where you read so much about it when you're planning a trip to Japan, or you see it on videos just like this one, that you just need to try it as a tourist. Personally, I guess it's up to your taste buds and what you do like. I would never make this here at home, and I would probably not be buying this again. But maybe something you should try.
The cruel
Not
irony
that
is
bad
there's
to
no
say I
food in the
hate
studio
it, no.
today, and I haven't eaten lunch, so I'm going to have to eat it. But suffice to say, I hate it, and the
That
Earl of
looks quite good,
Sandwich
though.
is turning in his grave. All right, this one's not that bad, because it's more cream than sandwich. Look at it. Honestly, God. Oh.
Do you take it back? Do you take it back though, Chris?
Wow, pretty good. Of all 11 points we've seen and heard until now, all presented into one convenient format that I call Japanese television.
Oh, Japanese TV. I guess, you know, this one's one that probably won't affect you as a tourist. It's very unlikely that you'll end up on Japanese TV, unless you're at the airport and you are lucky enough to be interviewed by one of those interviewers at the airport. But yeah, Japanese TV just has this reputation of being, you know, weird and funky and different. And when I've been traveling around Japan in hotels, I've turned on Japanese TV expecting to see all of these crazy game shows, and every now and then you do see one like on TV, but it's very rare, to be honest. It's just normal, a lot of like daytime talk shows, to be honest, news.
They're like, oh yeah, my dream, go Japan, be on TV, have fun. I went on TV maybe 3 or 4 times.
I've been on TV 1, 2, 3 times in Japan now.
And each and every time was absolutely shit. Whether it was asking me to hold a camera in my hand in every shot to prove that I was a YouTuber.
Are you a YouTuber?
I am.
I get it, because I was asked to wear a bandana of Japan to prove I was Western, or like that I was a Japan fanatic or something. Yeah.
And before I go, I have to say, while it's easy to pinpoint 12 things I hate about Japan, I could quite easily reel off a list of 1,000 things that I love about Japan.
Good point, Chris, to end like saying, you know, just because you don't like things doesn't mean that you hate Japan. There's so much that you do like about Japan, obviously.
Just because I've had opinions, it doesn't overrule the fact that I love Japan. I love living here, the people, the culture, the food. It is a fantastic country and I feel very lucky to be here. And I look forward to the folks who are like, oh my God, if you don't like it, just leave. I can't wait for that to happen, because it always does, and it's part of the fun.
Oh my God, Chris, if you don't like it, just leave the country already, right?
It's part of the fun of doing YouTube. But for now, guys, as always, many thanks for watching Abroad in Japan. If there's something on this list that I've missed, or something you feel strongly about that you don't particularly like about Japanese culture, let me know in the comments below. And what was your score out of 12? How many of these points do you agree with me on?
Okay, so that was me reacting to 12 things that Chris hates about Japan from a tourist point of view, hopefully giving you a little bit of advice of things that might be good to still try as a tourist, even though Chris hates them, if that makes any sense. Obviously, there were a few points there that I couldn't relate to. I'd never been to a Hostess club, and not living in Japan meant that, you know, I don't necessarily get annoyed when people say, you know, like, can you use chopsticks, etc. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Many thanks to Chris for obviously making this video, and for his channel overall. I really do admire his work ethic and his quality of videos, and hopefully he has watched this reaction and has liked what I had to say. And if you are new to the channel, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Japan related tourism content, for guides, etc. from a tourist point of view, through the lens of a tourist. Here I am to share my Japan experience with you. Check out my other videos, and like I always say, stay positive but COVID negative. Bye.